The moment that forced a rethink came when several beds stopped responding to every conventional correction. Water was adequate, compost was mature, mulch was present. Yet growth stalled, leaves dulled, and resilience vanished. What revived those plants was not more nitrogen or a new fertilizer, but a mineral approach rooted in ancient farming traditions that treated soil as a geological system, not just a biological one. Within weeks, plants that seemed beyond recovery regained colour, strength, and balance. The shift was quiet but unmistakable. This guide explains what that ancient mineral mix was, why it worked when modern inputs failed, and how the same principles can be applied today without shortcuts or hype. Why ancient farmers focused on minerals long before fertilizers existed. Long before synthetic nutrients, farmers understood that soil exhaustion was not only about organic matter. Crops remove minerals every harvest. If those minerals are not replaced, soil biology weakens and plants fail even when organic inputs are abundant. Ancient civilizations addressed this by returning finely ground stone, ash shell and clay back to the land. Roman agricultural texts describe quarry dust spread on fields. Asian farmers used decomposed granite and river sediments. Indigenous systems worldwide relied on ashbone and mineral-rich earths. They were not feeding plants directly. Instead, they were rebuilding the soil's mineral foundation. What the ancient mineral mix actually consisted of, well, that's quite interesting. The most effective traditional mixes were not complex at all. They combined slow-release mineral sources that weathered over time. Finely ground rock dust provided trace elements like iron, manganese, zinc and copper. Wood ash contributed potassium, calcium and phosphorus in mild forms. Crushed shells or limestone supplied calcium while moderating soil acidity. Clay particles improved cation exchange, helping soil hold nutrients instead of losing them. You know, the real strength in soil comes from its diversity and balance, not from simply piling on more of the same thing. It's that mix, that careful equilibrium, which gives soil its power. Now you might wonder why, these days, our soils often lack those crucial minerals, even when we add fertilizers. Well, synthetic fertilizers usually provide nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, just those three, and each in isolation. But here's the thing. They don't put back the trace minerals. Over the years, as we keep harvesting crops, the soils lose those vital micronutrients that plants need for things like enzyme function, photosynthesis, and, of course, resisting disease. So, what happens when plants grow in soil that's missing those minerals? Well, they might survive, but they can't really thrive. You'll notice leaves turning yellow even though you're feeding them. Roots become weaker, and pests seem to have an easier time attacking. No matter how much nitrogen you add, it just can't make up for a missing mineral. This is why compost alone sometimes fails. You see, organic matter feeds life, but minerals give life something to work with. So, let's talk about how the mineral mix was applied and what changed first. The mix was applied lightly and evenly to the soil surface, not dug in deeply. Rain and irrigation, you know, carried minerals downward slowly. Within days, leaf colour improved. Not darker from nitrogen, but richer and more stable. New growth emerged thicker and more resilient. Soil texture also shifted. It became crumbly rather than dusty. Water infiltration improved without waterlogging. These really are signs of biological activation driven by mineral availability. The most telling change, really, was recovery under stress. Plants tolerated heat and, irregular moisture far better than before. So, why do minerals unlock biology instead of simply replacing it? Well, microorganisms actually require minerals to function. Enzymes, for instance, rely on trace elements as cofactors. Fungi can transport phosphorus much more efficiently when calcium levels are balanced. And nitrogen-fixing bacteria, they genuinely struggle in mineral-poor environments. By restoring mineral diversity, the soil food web reactivates. Nutrient cycling resumes and, plants gain access to what was already present but previously unavailable. This is why, the response feels dramatic without being forced. So, how do we apply this approach safely and effectively today? Well, start by observing deficiencies rather than guessing. Weak growth, pale leaves, and low resilience often indicate mineral imbalance rather than hunger. It's better to use broad-spectrum rock dust rather than single mineral products. And apply sparingly. Minerals, after all, accumulate over time. Combine mineral application with organic matter. Minerals without biology simply sit idle, while biology without minerals, starves. So you simply apply it to the soil surface and, allow the weather to integrate it gradually. This, you see, mirrors ancient practice and, importantly, prevents any kind of shock. Now, why does this method work best as a long-term strategy? Ancient farmers, they didn't expect instant miracles. Instead, they built up mineral reserves slowly, bit by bit. Each application really compounded the last. Fields improved year after year, rather than peaking and then collapsing. These days, modern growers often look for immediate correction, but mineral restoration truly rewards patience. The first signs, yes, they can appear rather quickly, but the deepest benefits, they unfold over several seasons. This is how land fed families for generations without exhaustion. So, why did this knowledge fade? And, why does it matter now? Industrial agriculture, you see, prioritized yield per season over the permanence of our soils. Mineral cycling just doesn't fit into those short-term profit models, and as a result, soils became dependent on constant inputs, all the while losing their resilience. In an era marked by degraded land and rising costs, returning to mineral balance is honestly not regression at all. It is, in fact, recovery. What does all this teach us about reviving plants and rebuilding soil? Well, dead-looking plants are often signals, not failures. They tend to reflect systems that have lost their balance, not a lack of effort. Ancient mineral practices, address the causes rather than just the symptoms. Soil isn't simply alive, It's built from stone, transformed by the passage of time and activated by biology. And when those elements align, recovery tends to follow quite naturally. If you value grounded, time-tested knowledge that restores land instead of just chasing after quick fixes, do subscribe to Botanical Bliss and share this guide with others who are ready to rebuild soil from the ground up.